Hello, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to an anime story podcast. I'm the Big Bad Moon. Right over here on the right is Hound 3D. Oh, hang on one sec. Make sure my sound works.
So,
Hey, so hi, yes, we are an anime story podcast. Right over here on the right is Hound 3D. She is one of your hosts. Below us is Bad Strategy. He is your other host. And hello.
Hi. I'll be there in 2 seconds.
So you're streaming Subnautica? Was that what you were doing?
Subnautica.
Mm-hmm.
Let me do it. It won't let me raid you. Alright, people, go to an anime story.
Oh, goodness gracious. Drop a link in the description. Nobody will find their way. That's far too difficult to type.
It won't let me read him.
How do you... Interesting. Oh, is it because you're streaming at the same time?
Well, associated with your account.
Ah. An odd
So
start.
it should work.
An odd start for us here at an anime story. But yes.
Alright.
Welcome, Anime Story. Today, oh my gosh, it's already the 1st. August 1st, we are talking about Dorohedoro.
Alright.
Helen, how are you doing today? Oh, what?
I'm doing good. I'm trying to get my camera working. I
Yeah, swap
closed
us
the
around a little bit.
program.
Are you
I
using
closed the
OBS?
program. No, I was using the Twitch beta. I need to switch to OBS.
Yeah, that's fair.
Will you fix it? He was fixing it. You can start talking about
So,
it.
Bad,
though.
how are you doing today?
I am good. We're good. Everything's good.
Everything, all systems nominal.
Did I close it?
There is
Yeah.
nothing
We are
wrong.
swell. I have an air conditioner. I'm not going to overheat anymore, so everything is delightful.
Oh my goodness gracious. That is great. I wish I had an air conditioner. I have a fan, which is kind of like an air conditioner, but more depressing.
My air conditioner has a fan mode.
Hey, you know what? At least you have options.
Wait.
So this week we watched, or not this week specifically, but over the last couple weeks, we watched Dorohedoro, which is a show that you can watch. It's an anime, surprisingly enough. You can watch on, what was it?
Netflix.
Netflix. So yes, I watch Netflix. I don't often watch Netflix, but I watch Netflix.
I'm gonna
For
turn back
Dorohedoro.
on and see if I can get my video.
Oh no, we're going to be split in half.
Oh my gosh. Technical difficulties.
They abound.
Well, I can talk.
That's okay. We're just going to keep going, and if we switch spots, or if weird stuff happens, I'm just going to go with it. So,
The game is
Dorohedoro.
drink every time there are technical difficulties.
Hey, there we go.
Drink.
So,
Drink.
Dorohedoro, we're going to talk about this
Not you.
anime.
You're on the show.
Enough of your silliness. So, Dorohedoro is a show that is about what? Bad. Tell me, what is Dorohedoro about?
Oh god, as for overarching themes, I'm gonna have to think that
Well,
one
okay.
through.
Maybe,
but-
okay, we won't quite go to overarching themes just now. But,
Okay,
Out-
there's a guy, and he
Okay.
has a lizard head,
Yep.
and he lives in the Hole,
Yep.
which is a city that is constantly accosted by sorcerers from another dimension, and he goes around biting sorcerers' heads because there is a like hallucination people have when they're in his mouth of a person being like, "You're not the one," and for some reason that we don't understand, he assumes that the person inside of his mouth in the hallucination is like him or is working towards his interest in some way.
yeah, so because he doesn't have a memory.
He's trying to figure out why he has
Classically.
a cursed lizard head.
Yes. Which is a struggle I can certainly relate to. So, he travels around the world, or not the world, around the city, trying to figure out, I think essentially what he's trying to do is figure out who the wizard is that cursed him into having a cursed demon head. He is friends with, oh gosh, here's going to be this struggle of names, remembering all the names. Let's see. Dorohedoro characters. Do you remember the lady's name? Nikaido.
Nikaido.
Yes. So Nikaido is his friend, and the person that he, I would say, conceivably trusts the most, and a maybe sort of romantic interest. She owns a restaurant in the city. He eats at the restaurant all the time for free. And yeah, so here I'm gonna run into over the course of, I imagine, this episode, you're gonna find that I was not particularly enthusiastic about this show. Maybe it's that we just came off of Made in Abyss and ReZero, which are
Made in Abyss was sick.
Two of the best anime I've seen in a long time. Dorohedoro, I don't think quite makes that bar.
Right.
But, Helen, I'm curious about your thoughts on it, despite the fact that we cannot see you and are only charmed by your voice. What do you think of Dorohedoro?
I liked Dorohedoro. I thought it was pretty funny. Mm-hmm. As long as you don't take it too seriously, I think it's really good.
That's fair. As long as you don't take it too seriously. Okay, that's fair. So what's the if you had to pick the thing that you really liked about it the most? Just in general as an anime.
Fast-paced. I liked the main character because he has a dinosaur head and it's like weird.
That's fair.
And like he doesn't know why he has it, and so it's kind of like fun to watch him try and come to that. I didn't realize how freaking brutal the first episode was.
Yeah.
I forgot he's like, oh, the guy in my mouth says that you're not it, so I'm just gonna kill you. I'm like, well, that's kind of ruthless.
Right. That's actually one of the weird one of the issues that I had with the show was that. So the main character and all the other characters are completely and totally amoral. They don't care about anybody. It's like, oh, yeah, I have a dead body over here. Oh yeah, just set that anywhere.
So this is a funny thing because I want to point out this distinction. They're not immoral. They're entirely amoral.
Completely amoral.
It's like, because one of the interesting things if you watch like a mafia show, right, is that the characters are all like horrible and they torture people and they murder people and they do nasty things and they're like really immoral, but they have their own like weird code and they're like, we don't betray each other, and they're like, and it's interesting, but like if a character is amoral, then it's just there's nothing happening. There's nothing to address.
And I thought this was kind of interesting because I feel like there are a lot of things. I hear someone else talking. I don't know who it is.
It's Sam.
Is that Sam?
Yeah.
Get out of here, Sam.
Just get out of here, Sam. He's trying to make the camera work.
Ah, that's fair. Did you... Well, I'm not going to try to diagnose your problems. Anyways, I was going to offer, but technical stuff. It's very technical. So,
I will extend. I think the reason that they're amoral is because I think there are only a handful of characters who you could make a reasonable argument that they have emotions.
Yep, that's fair.
I think most of the characters express no emotions. Like, I think the best example is probably the professor guy, the scientist kid.
Yeah, totally.
Professor Kaukabe. Because he's like, all he does is he's like, I'm interested in science. My goal is science.
Yeah, totally.
And he never expresses enthusiasm. He never he is entirely emotionless. And most of the characters are like that. Like, even the protagonist, who's constantly like very loud and boisterous and expressive, it feels like a lot of the characters that they don't have much in the way of emotions.
That's fair.
Yes. So I think that's one of the interesting problems with the show is that you do have a lot of characters that have the potential. So, like, for instance, the main character. What is the main character's name again? Gosh. Kaiman. Oh yeah. I don't know why I wouldn't remember that because he is named after a lizard. But he there's an interesting potential in his character because he goes around and there are wizards or sorcerers or whatever, and he will chop them up kind of willy-nilly, and he is kind of on a quest of vengeance or something like that, something like vaguely resembling that, and he doesn't really have any qualms about it the whole time. He just kind of does it, and it's not a big issue. But I think there's an interesting potential in there.
There's a scene that really highlights that. There's a moment that really highlights that. That's really early on that I almost forgot about. That's they're in like a nightclub or someplace, and they find a sorcerer there, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna kill him, and his partner's like, wait, no, don't kill him. Maybe he can fix your face. And then they just don't kill him. And it's like
yeah, that's.
Why is this such a light matter for you? Why does no one care?
Right.
They're like horribly gruesome things that happened in front of like civilian characters.
Oh yeah.
And they're like,
I think so. Part of the reason I liked it was they had a sense of like that Alice in Wonderland feel, like with the mushroom guy and like them coming back to life.
Yeah,
and,
I think I felt some of that.
Okay, sorry. Repeat that again. I was
dumplings.
updating the title.
Yes. Dumplings are amazing.
Dumplings.
Why? I have a question. Alan.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Why do they wear masks? I don't know if it's covered.
That's a good question. I thought they wore masks just so that they had like an intimidating feature, because their masks don't really do much. Like it's not like they're metal. They're like skin.
They establish at one point that some masks like make you more powerful in the wizardry.
That is true.
But it seems kind of yeah. It doesn't. I don't know if they addressed that in the show at all.
Yeah. Okay. So now that we're all here, though, real quick, and we have all the technical issues have been worked out. Helen, hi. How was your week?
It was really good. I had a little bump, but I won't be a downer, so I'll tell you about it later.
Okay, sounds good.
But otherwise, it was a good week. I had a lot of fun. I have met so many people that you can see in chat right now. They're sending all their love to us.
Hello, all people in chat.
And if you get a chance, you should add them, or you should follow them, because they're amazing. But yeah, I've just been streaming.
Nice.
I just started Death Stranding. And
oh, wow. That sounds exhausting.
The soundtrack is amazing, because it's by Kojima, so you know.
Of course.
But I don't know about the game yet.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I don't remember the last time. I don't even remember the last Kojima game that I played. It's probably in like 1995 or something. But that's awesome. And Bad, what have you been up to? I know you've been playing other games. Speaking of games that are not associated with anime.
Delightful Stormworks.
Yes.
All the engine RPMs. All the visual coding.
Yes. Yes, I have been also working on learning Python, which is a programming language. So that's what I did this week. That was great. It was exhausting. It was a great week. I had a good week. And then we watched anime. So now that we've covered that, Dorohedoro. So
what do you think of the artwork?
This is an interesting. Okay, so I generally liked the art. Sometimes. Most of the time, I did not like the art. I think the animation can be a little clumsy. I think it's a lot of especially early on, there's a lot of stuff where like mouths would not sync up properly, and it just kind of was clumsy. It was kind of big. It was big. There was not any subtle animation. It was.
I think.
It was all right.
I think part
of that. Liked it.
It felt like the animation specifically felt like it was largely like stock animations. It didn't feel like they tailored the animations to the specific scene or what was happening. There was like a moment where Kaiman waves and he just like holds his hand up and keeps talking, and then at the end of the scene he moves his hand down, and it's like, why did you hold your hand up that long? No one would hold their hand up that long.
Right. Okay. So
I think that's why I liked it, because it's so like odd and different and fun.
And here's how I feel. I feel like the quality. So if nobody knows, I am also an artist, and so
and a writer.
and stuff like that. So I'm a little bit of a smarmy, stuck-up guy sometimes. So I was not super impressed with the animation. I thought it was kind of mediocre. Actually, what it reminded me of a little bit was what is the show that Rooster Teeth does?
Your room looks like a doctor's office, by the way.
Who knows?
No, you.
Me? Calendar, check. Card from my nieces and nephews, check. Good stuff. But no, so Ruby. Did we ever do Ruby on this show?
No, because Ruby's a Western thing. We never addressed it.
Okay, we've never done Ruby. So if you guys ever seen Ruby, it's by a company called Rooster Teeth.
I haven't seen it. I saw like the first episode, maybe. Ruby,
I think is a relatively decently done show. The animation is super quick, super simple. It's not complicated. It's a little bit. It's not as colorful as the stuff in Dorohedoro, but I would actually compare the early stuff in Ruby to Dorohedoro. It was all right. It worked, and there were some. Pardon me. There were some things backgrounds that looked really good in Dorohedoro, I will say.
I think the animation in Ruby is more intentional than in Dorohedoro. I do have that feel of like stock animations in Dorohedoro.
Yeah, and that's fair. So there's also a manga of this. So we don't talk about the manga. We're just talking about the anime.
I do think that the manga would I think I like the art more in the manga than in the anime. I think because it is a significant step away from the style of art that normally happens in manga.
Right.
I don't think that the manga art is especially like top tier art for manga. I think it's pretty average, but it's just it's a weird thing to take that step from manga art to the like 3D animation, and it doesn't always seem to work stupendously well.
No, I agree with that. It's actually it has the same kind of generalized style as what was the one we were debating watching?
Beastars.
Beastars has the same kind of, although I think the animation Beastars, because we watched a little bit of that.
I think
Beastars
was pretty good.
Beastars, I think the
animation,
specifically the animation in Beastars, I think is probably a lot better than Dorohedoro.
And see, I felt like they were going for that with Dorohedoro, just in a different way. Like they were approaching it at a different angle. So like I liked the fact that there were crisp cut things like in that realm. I don't know.
No, that's totally fair. And I think it's a legitimate direction to go in. I think that as far as the quality of that, I think it was a little bit subpar. But I think the major issue, okay, you know what, before we continue, I'm going to run through. So if you don't know, usually we just run through kind of the show. So it's spoilers. If you're planning on watching Dorohedoro, you probably don't want to watch because we're going to spoil the whole thing. So Dorohedoro, the main character, he is this guy. He has a crocodile head. His name is Kaiman, and he has his friend. What is it? Nikaido. Nikaido, who owns a restaurant, and he is roaming around trying to find a sorcerer who turned his head into a crocodile head and stole his memories and whatnot. So along the way, he runs into the character Kasukabe and there's another guy. They run a hospital.
Name.
Say what?
Butchered that name.
That's fair. I'm going to butcher names. You're welcome. So they run a hospital for victims of magical attacks. So there is a big bad guy in the story who we don't really know. He has kind of a weird motivation. His name is In. And I think this is the major problem with the story is character motivations, because it's not, for me, very clear who's trying to do what the whole time. So we follow Kaiman, who is I guess, looking for the wizard who cursed him, and we run into the bad guy, In, who is gathering up his little troop of, his little group of characters, to kind of hunt for, kind of they have a side thing of hunting for Kaiman, but I think his main thing is he's trying to find a magic user that can manipulate time, but we don't know that until like the second to last episode. So he's kind of just doing things. He pops in and out of episodes, and he's just kind of there. The main character bumps into him. Nikaido bumps into him, and these two characters.
I feel like Nikaido and him have bumped into each other before. Like, they have a relationship established from the very beginning.
In and Nikaido?
Yeah. Nikaido and, what's his ass? The main guy.
Oh, Kaiman?
Are you talking about him and In?
No, I was talking about him and In. But Nikaido and Kaiman,
Sorry,
they kind of seem like they might have had something going on. Some kind of relationship going on before that. But it's not 100% clear. So let me see, is it 14 episodes or was it 12? I think it was 12 episodes. So I'm just not sure what was going on the whole time. You know, you had I think there were 3 or 4 episodes out of the 12 episodes of the show that were what I would kind of just describe as filler episodes. There was an episode where everybody had a baseball game, and they made teams, and they had a baseball game, and it was kind of irrelevant.
I'm going to argue that the baseball game filler episode was might have been the best episode in the series, because I think the strongest character in the series is the like sidekick villain from episode 1 who doesn't die, who has more of a motivation than anyone. Like, if I were to take this show and like take the script and try to improve it, I would make him the protagonist. Because he's got more going on. He's like, I lost my friend and I'm too weak to help, and I'm like,
no, yeah, that's fair.
I can't stand up, and like,
show us that he agrees with you.
No, yeah, totally. That he is probably a character that has the most character depth and the most growth in the show. Now, okay, and so with that framework, and it's kind of loose, and it's not really clear like what the main struggle like. If you're, let's say for instance, we're talking about not an anime, or well, no, I was gonna bring up a movie reference, but hey, let's talk about an anime. If you've seen Made in Abyss,
that one was good.
Like, it's a great anime. Go watch it if you haven't seen it. It's wonderful. The main character, it's this little girl. I can't remember her name right now because there's lots of names in anime. I don't remember them all.
We've watched so much anime.
Yeah, it's true. So the main character, there's a giant hole in the middle of this island that goes down to like, the center of the earth or something. Who knows? It's called the Abyss, and she wants to go find her mother, who apparently is hiding at the center of the Abyss. And so she is taking like direct action to go do that. The entire story is driven by her desire to go find her mother. And her companion character, this little robot guy, Rico, thank you. Thank you, Trig Bug, appreciate it. So her companion character, this guy is going to the Abyss with her because he wants to protect her because she found him just lost in the Abyss, and because he wants to figure out what his connection is with the Abyss. And so that is driving the scene. Every scene they're in, they're trying to achieve that objective. Whereas in Dorohedoro, the motivation of the main character is he wants to find the wizard, I guess, that cursed his head. But he's never actually actively, like, the story's not driven by that. Like, that's what he does in his past, in his free time.
You got cheated at some point in your past, and your way of resolving it is to be like, I'm gonna bite people's heads until I bite the person who cheated me.
Right.
You're on random. You're not gonna.
Yeah, no, totally.
You're not moving towards your objective.
That's valid. Well, and I like Ebisu because isn't Ebisu the person? Don't we find that out?
Yes, Ebisu's the person. It's like they yeah, I think they lay that out pretty clearly, like when she first
Yeah.
shows up, because they're like, bite, chomp, pull away.
Ebisu's like my favorite person.
I
too.
think the thing I don't like about Ebisu is that all of her humor feels unearned because they never really develop her, right? Like
Right.
she loses
That's
her memories and then
fair.
it's like
Yeah.
She's an archetype.
Ebisu humor.
Mhm.
Like no,
She
we
is-
haven't learned who she is.
She is.
I
She
liked
is.
when she got turned into a zombie though. That was great.
So it's and this is I think the thing with all the characters is all the characters, none of them have really gotten any development. They are kind of archetypical. Like so, Ebisu is this like she's the quirky, cute, childlike character who is always doing something wacky, like every single anime ever. That character, but we don't really get any. And of course, she has a wonderful excuse that she doesn't have a memory. So, of course, we don't know anything about her. But you know that makes it kind of uninteresting.
I kind of feel like they were trying to tie it in because they had her what is it, the dust?
The dust, yeah.
Yeah, so she had been selling her dust. So there's something tracking
Right.
in that background there.
Right. And
But we don't know. It wasn't very apparent.
right. But and here's the thing: this is all backgroundy, like exposition kind of stuff. So
That's fair.
it doesn't actually it doesn't drive the story. There's nothing going on in the story.
They do already have a lot of exposition in the show,
There's
a lot of like
Ton of
That's
lines of
exposition.
dialogue that are just explaining the world.
Yeah, that happens though. Anime can do that exposition. It was kind of bad in this one, but so I would say the biggest problem is the same problem that it always is. The characters' motivations are not driving the actions of the story. It's a lot of random scenes that happen. The main character is not actively trying to pursue his goal. He's just kind of bouncing around the world. He runs into this person, runs into that person, and then when Nikaido goes and something happens to her, he chases after her. So there's no drive for the main characters, and the character In, who is kind of a mysterious character who turns people into mushrooms and then eats them, which is kind of horrific. That's cool, good bad guy trait. He is just kind of being a bad guy, and the plot connects in the last 2 episodes when he tries to basically force Nikaido into becoming his ally by signing contracts with
Contract was
devils.
brutal.
Yeah, it was very strange. They open their chests up and they pull out a piece of paper and they sign a contract.
It's like tissue.
It's weird.
It's like bodily tissue though. It's crazy.
It's pretty weird. It's pretty terrifying.
I think the reason I like it is it has a better connection than what's that, Little Witch Academia.
That's
I feel
fair.
like from episode to episode, I feel like they're tracking, but it may not be very solid, but at least it's continuing.
Uh-huh.
I didn't feel like it wasn't and I don't know. Little Witch Academia, I felt like they were constantly switching what they were doing. Their motivations were switching. It didn't make sense. So, I mean, as standalone episodes, I don't mind Little Witch Academia, but
Right.
I don't feel like it tracked as well as this did.
Okay, that's fair.
I can agree with that. I also think Dorohedoro is stronger when it's focusing on the villains, because they're just a wacky group of weird, I don't even know what to call them.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like the villains have more motivations and drive than the protagonists.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. They
The
kinda
villain
seem to.
definitely had a stronger. I almost by the end of the last episode, I almost felt like he wasn't exactly a villain.
Yeah, I mean, it was honestly the entire conflict between the protagonists and the antagonists it felt a little arbitrary from early on, because the protagonists are I guess it's because they're killing the sorcerers, but it doesn't feel like they have a big disagreement. Like they'd all be friends if they weren't killing each other.
Okay, so
What do you guys think of the music?
The only song I remember is the intro song, and I thought it was fine. It was not bad.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, was it good? It didn't pop out to me.
Solid.
Yeah,
I liked the opening.
yeah,
Just because I felt like it grabbed your attention. Why the hell he has pot stickers? Nobody knows. I think it's kind of fun. Like, I don't smoke, but you know, if I smoked, I think it would be really funny.
right. No, yeah, for sure.
It was trippy. It was trippy.
That's true. The intro was trippy. That is the way I would describe it. So that is, with all that being said, I do feel like there is definitely a lot of interesting potential in the show with respect to how the characters are, and this is why I think perhaps the manga might be really good. I don't know. I haven't read the manga, but
I haven't read it either.
So with the main character, with Kaiman, he does this thing. He's running around. He's trying to hunt down wizards and whatnot, and he's killing lots of people. This is a very violent show. Lots of people die horribly.
Very gruesome.
And
It is very gruesome.
And generally speaking, nobody actually cares. It's like, oh yeah, we just killed these people.
I mean, it's funny because it's such a contrast because it is far more gruesome and like kind of hardcore than most shows, but the characters react so much less to everything that it stands out much more than it otherwise would.
I think, like, rewatching it, when I saw that first episode, I was like, really, was it that gruesome, like, to start? Like, holy crap. Because, like, in the first beat, it's like, whew.
And that's the thing that I think goes on through the whole show. Like, they'll just kind of willy-nilly just, like, slice a person into pieces and be like, oh, yeah, no big deal. And it I think happens to the point where it's kind of frustrating because like you guys are all monsters.
A room of 20 people who have all been chopped up into little pieces and they're still alive.
Right.
Oh,
when's
look,
lunch?
He kept his promise.
Yeah.
Well,
no,
exactly. Like the guy showing up at the baseball game, like he's still alive.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a zombie.
We've made a literal zombie, and it's like,
hey, look, we can control him.
I'm also gonna say the zombie event that happened felt like an MMO event.
That's funny.
Okay, so did you guys pay attention to the ending titles? They were different every single time.
I think I do recall.
And it was very
actually,
much like a first-person shooter. So I think they were trying to track that kind of gaming aspect.
Yeah, interesting.
To it.
That is interesting, yeah. And so, what they were going for, it's hard for me to say. I'm not 100% sure on it, but I do think the characters, when you have the main character Kaiman running around killing people, doing this and that, I think it could have been a really interesting thing to get into, because he just kind of willy-nilly goes out and kills people and doesn't talk about it, doesn't care about it. If you get into, he's trying to get revenge for the stuff that's happened to him, and he's kind of got reason because sorcerers are coming down and experimenting on people and kind of causing chaos. And if he was doing that and hunting down sorcerers and killing them and doing this, if he sat down in his apartment and had to be like, am I a bad guy because I'm killing all these people? Am I just the same as them? What is the difference between us? They're doing these horrible things, but I'm also like horribly murdering people to get revenge. That would have been an interesting conflict to have, and it just didn't happen. And it was right there. Like, he is, hunting down people doing bad things, and killing them, but he is in fact going around and hunting down other human beings and killing them for revenge. Really, it was for the sake of his own revenge. So, is he any different than them?
Sorcerers.
Yeah, they have
and
sorcerers.
So Nikaido's actually afraid of him finding out she's a sorcerer to that degree.
Say what? Oh yeah, and his best friend is a sorcerer.
But he doesn't know that. He's like, she's afraid of him finding out.
Right.
And he kind of ignores it when he's being told she is. Like, it's not even that he's like, no, she's not. It's like, well, she might be, but I'm not gonna bite.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that wasn't earned. That didn't feel earned to me. because it was like, okay, you're killing every fucking sorcerer but Nikaido, but that's okay because she makes you pot stickers. Like,
right. So
I don't know. Like, I didn't feel real.
yeah,
I mean, pot stickers are delicious, but you know.
There's something that I was wanting from all the characters that we did eventually see with one of Kaiman's relationships later on, was he gets a part-time job in the sorcerer dimension working for a sorcerer dude, and then the sorcerer dude's like, I have a moral code, you helped me out, I'm gonna help you out, I help out my friends. It's like,
wow,
God damn it, Kaiman, why didn't you do this earlier? Why didn't any character do this earlier?
Yeah, no, totally. That was
I agree with that. The motivation was highly lacking.
So,
and it felt like it wasn't necessarily like in the moment. It felt like you said, the exposition. It wasn't moment to moment. It was, well, so I agree with that.
Yeah. So, one thing I did like about the show, I thought they did very interesting, was, wow, the characters, there's a lot of very unique and very interesting characters in the show. The premise is very unique and very interesting. Guy with a crocodile head hunting down sorcerers. That's weird and interesting. I liked the relationship between him and what is it, Nikaido?
Nikaido.
That was very interesting. The bad guy, he's kind of like got this strange hubris kind of, you know, he thinks he's like he thinks he's the bomb, you know, he is really into himself. We find out in the show that he actually produced and starred in a movie about his own life, and that is his level of like hubris, that he made a movie all about himself, that is the story of how he became so great. Go ahead.
I still really think that it should have been about that like side character bad guy and focused on the villains, and then like Kaiman and Nikaido and their friends could have been like background side characters.
Almost. Well, that's an interesting thing. The perspective we've taken in the story, you know, because it's funny. I would say over half the story is just from the perspective of the bad guys.
It is very heavily from their perspective, and a lot more happens on their
bad
end.
Guys. Yeah. So, Helen, what is something about the show that you absolutely didn't like? I'm curious.
I didn't like. Let me think. This is always hard for me because I usually like find all the things I do like. I would say the moment to moment, like I said before. I also felt like at points I felt like I could fast forward and it would be fine.
That's fair.
So it was like, okay, like enough of this. I'm ready for more. Like I felt a little bit like it was running around in circles.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
You know,
I think that has to do with probably motivation and the way scenes are structured. Some of the scenes are kind of superfluous.
I have a theory about why the show ended up the way it did. I think that the writer took themselves too seriously. And so they wrote better when they wrote the villains because they made them kind of goofy and they took it less seriously. And so we had more relationships, because goofy villains have relationships and have some amount of development. If you look at the protagonists, though, their relationships with their friends don't change. So I think it may have been that the writer was taking himself more seriously when dealing with the protagonists.
That's
and
fair.
when they relaxed, they wrote better. Because I know people
do that. I like that evaluation.
There was also just a lot more interaction between the villains. They're differing characters. Like with the main character group.
More development between the characters too.
Definitely
like,
more development.
Relationship wise.
Because the main characters, you have Kaiman, you have Nikaido, and then you have the two guys that run the hospital.
And at the beginning, En didn't give two craps about some of the characters, and then he was like, well, I do care. I'm like, it's like, all right, I'll be there for you. And he started backing people up. So it was almost like the antagonist who's kind of the protagonist. I don't know.
Yeah. No, and this is the well, and okay, so this can be a good thing. Like it can be a good thing when you're not sure who the bad guy is. And that was, I mean, if we jump back to Made in Abyss, I think when you run into what's her name, the Ozen.
My goodness.
When you run into Ozen and you think Ozen, the unmovable sovereign. She's intense. She's a super intense character. You feel for you feel for a couple episodes that, oh my god, she's a bad guy. She's like the bad guy. But then she's not the bad guy. She's just like super hardcore. She's like a really hardcore person. I
mean, she did kill him, so I mean, she wasn't exactly a good guy either.
No, she's not. She is a character. She's a person who has motivations, who believes certain things, and she acts according to those beliefs. And that makes it interesting. Because the bad guy ultimately should not wake up every day and go, I'm so evil, I want to do something evil. They should wake up and they should be like, I have this objective, I'm going to try to do this, and the good guy is probably going to get in my way. And so we've come into conflict.
What do you do to get what you want?
There's no good and bad. There's characters and what their motivations are. Yeah. And that's, I mean, that you could have had a very interesting conflict between the main characters and the protagonist and the antagonists in Dorohedoro. They didn't really come into too much conflict, though.
I think my normal criticism for a narrative would be the conflict is too much between characters and not enough within characters. But I actually think that in Dorohedoro there isn't it's in neither place, right? It's more between characters than within, but the conflict is very loose. There's not like significant emotional tension tied to the characters fighting.
Yeah, no, 100%. There's nothing to back up that fight.
I guess I don't get why I kind of get why he's killing sorcerers, but at the same time I feel like the motivation was like, why kill all sorcerers?
Right.
Because they've been torturing humans for generations.
Oh, okay.
That's true.
They've been torturing, I don't know if you heard him.
No, yeah, we heard him. Good job, Sam.
I think in the first episode they delayed the mentioning of that for a little while, and I was like, maybe it was intentional, maybe they wanted to show something like gruesome and shocking before being like, sorcerers torture people, and that's why.
No, yeah, and so this is it. It's interesting because like the sorcerers are bad guys and they're doing bad things. But if you go to the sorcerer world, so these are the sorcerers that are coming to the human world or whatever, and attacking people. And later on, we go to the sorcerer world and we see that there's like some of the sorcerers just like own bakeries, and that's what they do. They're not going out and turning people into lizard heads. They try to sell meat pies and have festivals, and sometimes they have anonymous groups meetings.
Kaiman ends up working for them.
Say what?
Like, Kaiman ends up working for them,
right,
too.
Yeah, exactly. And that could have been a very interesting thing. I think so. If Kaiman had some struggle back when he was killing horrible sorcerers, that are coming down and experimenting on people, if he could have had some kind of struggle about wondering whether or not he was actually doing the right thing, because he's just killing a bunch of people that are doing bad things, but he's like murdering people horribly with a dagger. I feel like that's a kind of an emotional stressor. And then he could have gone to the sorcerer world and seen just like regular people that are regular sorcerers who are just like trying to live their lives. We didn't get that conflict.
I was a little surprised that when he got to the sorcerer world, he wasn't like, wait a minute, you guys are all like normal.
Right, totally.
Why are you normal?
I have to say, I appreciate that you said emotional stressors, because emotion does not actually give anything to a character. That has no motivation, and that's why as actors, we don't play emotion. We actually have to play the objective, what we want, and how that affects you because of your obstacles, blah,
Right, totally.
So I appreciate the emotional stressor comment, because some of it did definitely feel like it was just emotion for emotion's sake.
Right, and this is why I think this is why motivation and character, like the character being driven by motivation in scenes and in the whole story is so important, because like something that if you do any writing, if you are critiquing stories at all, something you find out is that action is actually really boring, because action in itself is not inherently interesting. The thing that is interesting in action is when there is some kind of motivation or stressor that is backing up what the action is. Right. I don't know if you've ever seen, if you guys have ever seen The Matrix, ask in any scene in The Matrix, even if it's an action scene, ask what the characters are trying to do in the scene, and they'll have a really good reason for what they're trying to do, and it'll be something that's backed up for what their goals are in the movie, and it's a really well written movie. In Dorohedoro, a lot of the action is just it just happens. There's no, underlying motivation that's driving it. It's just there, some action, they do some fighting, and it's over. And that is inherently kind of boring. And that's what happens in scenes, and that's the thing that happens if you ever feel like a scene is dragging on, or if you feel like you could skip over it. It's because there's nothing going on in the scene. It's not driven by the character's motivations.
When I first started taking acting, we had a teacher who said that was calling bullshit. If you ever feel like this is not right, it's calling bullshit on their motivations, their objective.
Right.
Like, you're like, no. She's like, so don't think it's garbage just because,
right.
But what can you call bullshit on?
Yeah, and
so,
there are definitely a lot of moments in this that you could call bullshit on, because just not a lot going on. The villains had some interesting stuff going on, because there were also a number of the villain characters who had kind of side plots going on. There's these two characters who are they're kind of like the henchmen of the main bad guy, except there's a kind of a detective-y tint over their relationship, and so they have a kind of a strained relationship, because they're doing this job. It's really violent, and they go and do horrible things, and they're both kind of sociopaths, but they end up oh my gosh, the chat's going so fast. I'm keeping an eye on it, but it's making me dizzy. I apologize. There's cats in it. God. But yeah, they're hitmen, exactly. And so they have a partnership. They're kind of detectives, but they go out and their job is just kind of to murder people. And they have this side plot of I don't know if you'd say there's like a half romance going on between them, like a simi. There's like a little thing going on, and then apparently all of the sorcerers in the world have to every 4 years sign a contract, demon contract with each other's souls.
I don't think it's like necessary.
Right?
Though,
yeah, that's fair.
They made it sound almost like some sorcerers do this, and it's an event that most people maybe don't go to, or.
Right.
It's not necessarily clear how widespread it is, if it's one like single location that holds a party, or if like everywhere people celebrate it.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that too.
Yeah. So, okay. So overall, I think it's kind of disjointed. It's not particularly engaging because there's a serious lack of motivation. There's some good things in it, but overall, it's all right. Helen, who would you recommend this particular anime to?
Somebody who wants to put something on in the background that's semi-fun?
That's fair. Definitely a background kind of anime.
I do think it's stronger thematically than anywhere else.
Uh-huh. Yeah. No, that's fair.
So I agree with you.
As far as biggest strength of the show, I would say it's got some unique characters. That's probably what I would say.
I think they did try with their artistic elements. There were parts I really liked that they carved out. Yeah,
no, that's fair. There were a couple of scenes that have really great backgrounds. and actually some of the initial
Like
scenes.
the guy sitting in all the mushrooms and like his backstory, like that was sick.
Right.
And yeah.
Also, it didn't wrap up in the first season. Like it didn't have a
No.
there was no climax in the first season.
Yeah,
It just continues.
Weird because I was like, oh my gosh, the big fight's coming.
Yeah,
They're gonna beat each other up. We're gonna see like big, like powerful, like punching effects, and then it's like, no, they just left. They just ran away. Okay.
They're just done.
That's a good way to put
I was
it.
ready for violence this time, and then there's none.
Yeah, and then there's none. And so Bad, do you know who you'd recommend this to?
I don't know. I would say I do think the strongest part is the theme. I think it works well. It would work well as a background anime, as a like, I'm doing something, I want to put something on in the background that is like colorful and has some interesting ideas in it that I'm like not necessarily going to pay attention to the story, but I'll look at it every once in a while and be like, oh, people like use black dust to get super powerful.
Right.
Cool.
Totally. So, best girl.
I love Ebisu.
Ebisu?
I'm not gonna lie, I love Ebisu. Or the dog thing.
Was
The
there
dog creature.
Was there a dog?
Yeah.
Oh, the cow. It's a cow. It's not a
a cow.
dog, it's a cow.
It's a cow.
Is that the thing that like was in the mushroom place?
It restores people to life.
It looks
It's
like a dog.
Oh
It's a-
yeah.
it's a-
Oh yeah.
Pink.
That's fair. I think that's probably what they were going for in the show.
It was halfway between a cow and something else.
I think I'm okay with that. I think I'm okay with that. Totally best girl. Nobody in this is waifu. Nobody. Everyone's a sociopath.
Pie shop owner.
The pie shop owner. He seems a little violent. I feel like there would be some domestic problems.
Yeah, I think this is also set in like mafia land though.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I do think maybe given the context, it's less problems.
I would agree with that.
Interesting. Yeah, no, that's fair. So, interesting. This was an interesting one. I didn't have a lot to say about it. It was kind of disjointed for me. What are you gonna do? Here's the question: what are we gonna watch next time? We didn't talk about this yet. We should have.
We haven't.
Who chose this? Was it Sam? Was it Sam that suggested it?
That was Troa.
Oh, you don't get a pick again.
You don't get to pick again, he says.
Not for at least 2 shows.
You're on a timeout.
Okay, so what are we gonna watch? What was it?
What do we want to like? What are like? Because I know for
I
a
want to
little
watch.
while.
I want to watch season 2 of ReZero.
That's true, isn't it?
Same.
Well, everybody does.
Same.
When is it gonna be over though? Is the problem? Because I don't want to watch
Right.
half of the season and then.
I don't think it started yet.
Oh no,
It
I think
hasn't.
I think it did start. Did it not?
Maybe it did.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, so that'll happen when it happens. Definitely ReZero is gonna happen.
Yeah, it did start. We're like 4 episodes in.
I
We're
would.
4 episodes in.
Oh, you're like they're like 4 episodes in. Okay, that's not too bad.
I remember now. I watched all 4 of those. So.
You watched? No, it's not out yet. Oh no! Oh yeah, no, yeah. I watched 4 episodes of it.
This is what happens when you watch a lot of anime. Trust me, it's happened to me.
That's fair. That is very fair. Well, so I think, I can't remember. We had a very short list of anime that we were thinking about. Bad. What was the?
So I can name a bunch.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like,
Rattle off a few.
I still want to watch Zombieland Saga.
Okay.
That time I was reincarnated as a slime.
Okay.
What other ones? There's so many good ones. Outlaw Star, you mentioned Outlaw Star.
Oh yeah, that's fair. I feel like that might be one that if I were to rewatch Outlaw Star from back when, the 90s, I'd rewatch it and I'd be like, ooh, this is so much worse than I thought.
My mistake was last time I watched Outlaw Star, I watched it after watching Cowboy Bebop.
Okay, that's a big one.
And I
Yeah.
was like,
Oof, don't do that.
Bebop. Zombieland Saga is probably reasonable.
It's fun. It's just a fun one. It's silly. It's kind of a what are they called? It's like AKB 0048. It's looks like Sailor Moon.
I disagree. I think it's better than AKB 0048.
Well, I agree.
Oh dear.
I agree with you. But it's like that, like, girls all singing
Is there
and,
anything-
like, the pop stuff. And
Yeah, it's like, I don't know what that genre is. We need a
I don't
genre
either.
for this.
Is there anything kind of like Konosuba, but it's as good?
Anything
So,
like
we could see what Konosuba is satiring if we watch that time I was reincarnated as a slime.
That's fair. That's kind of an interesting thought.
Although that time I was reincarnated as a slime is perhaps much more lighthearted than, well, I don't know. Is it more?
I thought it was, and then I let my kids watch it, and I realized it may not have been kid appropriate. So, and there's a pretty intense scene where my son actually, like, got teary-eyed and, like, almost cried.
Well, okay. I guess I'm okay with.
Assassination Classroom.
What is it?
Assassination Classroom.
What's that about?
It's about a teacher who's a yellow space alien. And
Troa's yelling yes in the background.
Oh, I don't know why I let you people drag me into these.
You gotta look up the anime beforehand. You
It's
never
true.
do the legwork. It always comes.
I set up all the streaming stuff. You guys should look up the
If
list.
you want to, like,
I suffer through it.
If you want to have a say in the politics, you gotta do the research.
Okay, fine. Assassination Classroom. That sounds reasonable.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so you can join us, guys, next time. That's going to be, oh my goodness gracious, September the 5th, which is, yes, September the 5th, we're going to be talking about Assassination Classroom. How many, is that that's a show?
I don't know how long it is.
It is some number of episodes.
Not JoJo.
Only,
or Black Clover. Isn't that one like
Oh my, that one's quite long.
hundreds of episodes?
It's quite long. I don't remember how long.
we're not going to do JoJo. No, it's not going to happen.
Nope.
I actually think JoJo would be an interesting one to do.
If I had 4 or 5 years to watch through it, then yeah.
Look, how long? JoJo's not so long.
That's fair. It's not. It's not. I see that face you made.
I don't know how long it is. It's just like,
Okay.
we don't have to watch all of it.
Sounds good. Hey, thanks for joining us, guys. Again, that is September 5th. We're going to be talking about Assassination Classroom. Lovely to see you all here. Thanks for dropping by. Have a good night. Bye.
Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.